what's the skill and what's the behavior? I think we get confused with what is what. Well, I think I could be a little bit more dialed in with my food. That's the skill, is being dialed in with my food and learning about macros and what they do and what certain nutrients could I benefit from or not benefit from, or like, why do these big salads hurt my stomach? But it's like, that's the skill. What's the foundation that I need to learn? Okay, so we just did 10 minutes and didn't record, so I'm just going to keep with my story that I was on 10 minutes in. But I was saying that I was having a conversation with, we were just talking about like learning before we hit record. This is what we were talking about. We'll just,
our secret conversation.
We'll fill you in on the secret conversation that we were having of like having interactive ways to learn for kids. Because I was saying that I was at the pool yesterday and there was a dad or a grandpa that was doing like color matching with his kid of, the kid would point to something and then the dad would say the color in Spanish and then the kid would have to say it in, say like, yes, it's correct. And then say it in English and then also name something else that was of that color. And so we were just talking about like different ways of, you know, matching all the styles of learning, especially at a younger age, then they can start to maybe figure out, or you can test like which way they do learn the best, like whether that's visual or auditory or like hands-on kind of stuff. But then I was talking about how I was having a conversation with a studio owner around here that she also teaches younger age kids like I do, and how many like the parents, they think you're not really teaching them anything because you're just playing games all the time. She's like, do you realize how many levels of like skills I'm teaching your kid just by doing something stupid as freeze dance? It's like, it seems just like a fun, like turn the music on, dance, pause, and then you freeze. He's like, even that simplest thing alone, like, can you do something and your kids listen right away? It's like practicing, like having to listen for a direction that isn't cued by someone that you know.
Yeah.
And it changes every time. They're having to listen to a cue, then respond and react to a cue. Like body awareness, moving on the class. Like there was like 10 different things. She's like, that is just in a stupid game.
Yeah.
Like it's like you said, it's like hiding learning lessons within something fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like I don't know. That whole thing, like with the parents and I don't know. It's almost like they think like you need to make them learn a certain way, or like it's always that complaint. Like since we've been together and you teaching dance and stuff, it's always the same complaint. Like, I just feel like you're just doing a bunch of games. It's like, do you really want to just come in and see like us doing like drills like a 18-year-old kid would be doing? To where it's like, you would think they would understand, like, do you realize how hard it is to get your kid to do stuff at home? Like, I doubt you're just like having them like, okay, now it's reading time, sit down and read by yourself.
Right.
And sit in your room, or like, okay, now we're going to draw letters and just do that. It's like, I don't know. My opinion of it is, not only is it more beneficial to make it more fun and interactive in a game because they're actually going to enjoy it, but I think they're going to learn better too.
Yeah.
You're just starting to associate things with each other, and like the subconscious is happening and working. And I don't know. It's like we were talking about before not hitting record. Well, the game Battleship. Mm-hmm. It's like you have the numbers written out and the letters written out, and you're just like, you're playing a game, but you're if they're at an age where they're learning letters and numbers, like you're seeing it visually, it's all in order. You're having to pair a letter with a number and then guessing the other person's. And if you're just doing that and you're starting to get good at that, like you're just subconsciously learning letters and numbers now, and it's in a fun game. And that to me is so much of a better way to learn than just like sit down and write your letters, sit down and write your numbers and practice doing that. I think you should do that too, but I don't know, it's like, again, it's always the same complaint with that. Like, I just feel like you're only playing games or doing games and not doing anything. It's like, yeah, okay, but like, isn't the whole point to try to enjoy learning? Mm-hmm. Like, there's so many people, I've heard it so many times lately of, I didn't realize I liked learning until after I got out of school. It's like, how dumb is that? Mm-hmm. Like, and I'm part of that group. Like, I did not like school. I did not like the way I don't know, I just didn't like school in general. And then now that I'm out of school, I'm like, oh, I actually like to like listen to podcasts and figuring out how you learn too. Like, oh, I'm very much like audio. If I can just hear it and people talk about it, that works a lot better than me just like, here's a textbook and read it. I don't comprehend well that way. I comprehend better with audio. And it's like, oh, okay, so I just learned that. And now I know like that's more of my form of learning. So it's like, I'm horrible at sitting down and just reading a book. I get so bored. I'm thinking about other things. But now it's like, okay, put an audiobook in. And now I'm going to comprehend so much more of that same thing that was written down in text, rather just now it's in my ear. It's like I've learned more about how I learn and that I like learning outside of school than when I was in it. And I get it. Like there's so many people you can't take that kind of time just for each individual person.
Oh, no.
But again, going back to the like, it's like this kid is like 4 or 5 years old. It's like, what? You want me to like be a drill sergeant with your 4-year-old or 5-year-old?
Right.
And no fun. Like they're not going to want to come to dance then.
No, and I think even, you know, going back to like the listening thing, like, can you sit your kid down and have him do something for 45 minutes straight and with no distractions, no running around? It's like, if you can, awesome. That's like so good for you. They're not doing that with a stranger or with somebody else. So like that also is a skill that needs to be practiced. It's like they're listening to you and that's awesome, but they're 2 years old. So they need to learn how to also listen to other people because they're about to go to school or be around other kids or, you know, go to friends' houses and have to have other parents.
That kid's also probably 1%. If they can sit down for 45 minutes and just like read a book.
Stay engaged for 45 minutes on something that's
not like playing.
Right.
Like, yeah, any kid can sit there and play with toys or Legos or something for 45 minutes. But that's
and even so extreme of like, sit in this one spot and play with Legos. Now go over here and sit in one spot and play with Legos and do it in this specific pattern of you play with all the blue and then all the green. It's like, that's what we're doing. We're not just, we'll run around and kind of do some stuff when I say it. It's like every second of that 45 minutes, I'm telling you what to do and expecting you to do that. That has to be practiced behavior. And I think with learning, there's setting yourself up for the foundation and then learning the skill or learning the information. But I think as they get older, everybody, you have to have the foundation set in order to learn whatever material you need. So I think like younger kids, like you're teaching them how to focus for a long period of time. And change direction, and like change direction is like as far as like focusing. Like, well, we were doing this, now we need a sharp change, move to something else. Now, how do you still retain as much information that I'm giving you, be able to physically do it, adapt, just that's pretty much it at that age. Just like staying focused on task, to where as you get older, it's maybe staying focused, but maybe for longer periods of time, or you're staying focused, but then you're also adding in like the responsibility of, okay, well, I learned this way, so now I need to take notes in class, or maybe I need to listen a little bit more, or setting the foundation of making sure deadlines are met. Like a 3-year-old doesn't have to focus on that in school, but as you get older, that's the foundation. That's not the skill. Yeah. You need to like assignment notebook behavior. It's like you got to be able to match deadlines, pre-plan, know how you're structured, like how you're structuring your workflow. Now you learn the material that fills all that in. But unless you had the structure first of the foundation, you're going to struggle learning the material because you're not setting yourself up for success with what you do.
Yeah. Well, and I think like starting with that younger age too, it's stuff like, okay, we're going to dance. What things do you need to bring to dance? It's like, oh, your shoes, or maybe it's like you're having to wear the leotard and those specific things. So it's like, what can they do at that age? It's those types of stuff. To where it's like, if they're not able to do that, and now they're getting older and they can't remember to bring their own stuff, or it's that like, grows into.
How many times do you hear like, I'm thirsty. Oh, where's your water? My mom didn't bring it. You go, how old are you? Oh, you're 7?
Yeah.
You know how to fill up a water, I guarantee. Yeah. You probably know what your water bottle looks like. Bring your own water.
Right.
That's how your mom's response. She got you here. She did what she needed to do.
And I think
she drove you here. That's all she needed to do.
I don't know. Maybe they think that that's crazy to like have your kid have a checklist that they need to, bring their stuff or do. It's like, it's also the thing of like, it's just easier for me to grab all their stuff than like have to
Probably
have
is,
them
yeah.
do whatever. But I think that's the whole that's one of the huge things with parenting, it seems like, is like the time. You have to be able to like have the patience
Mm-hmm.
and time for, it's like, okay, do you have all your things? It's like, yep or nope. And then you got to watch your kid walk around for 10 minutes grabbing all their shit. Like, oh, my water. And now they got to
Yeah.
go fill up their water. Or you got to fill up their water. And they have their, you know, their shoes and all their stuff. And I don't know. It's one of those things, like you're saying, you have to have the foundation and then like building up from there and going from there. It's like, what can you do at this age? Okay, you can remember the equipment you need to go to class.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do that. And maybe while you're there, it's like a foundation thing is just, how do you act in this class? It's like, it's something you talk about all the time with the kids. It's like, there's a certain like class etiquette, whether it's at dance or it's at school or in your job. There's job
Mm-hmm.
etiquette. Like, you have to have a certain gym etiquette. Like, you have to be able to act a certain way within this thing, and especially to get the most out of it. So it's like, that's another foundation thing that they're learning, and then it's just, it progresses from there. It made me think of school. It's interesting, like, I don't think kindergarten I think is a little bit different now than when we went to school, maybe, but I'm surprised it's like, as soon as you go to school, you're basically going for 8 hours a day. It's like, you go from like pretty much having whatever you want in the day
Yeah.
to now you have to have a structured 8 hours a day from the start. It's like, why didn't we like scale this up almost? Like,
Well,
you know,
I think if you go to preschool, but
Yeah.
that's not required anymore,
yeah,
or in some states it's not required, or they maybe don't even have like that kind of structure. It's more of like a daycare than preschool.
yeah.
And that's like half days. But that's
But I
why
think
that's why I
kindergarten, you're
always
going-
push 8 hours a day for kindergarten, but preschool I think you can start at like 3 or 2 in some
But to me,
areas.
that's
That like 4 hours or something.
That's crazy. 3 hours and then jump to 8. Now you have to do that. Like,
I
to me,
mean,
it's like the working out
yeah.
example too. Like, you're starting from 0 and now you go to like, I'm going 6 days, 7 days a week.
Sure.
It's like, no, you need to start by going, you don't go at all. You need to start by going to the gym once a week or being active one time a week, and then scale up from there. It's like, you're asking these, you know, 5 or 6 year olds to go to 8 hours of focus and attention. Like, there's no way.
Sure.
It's like, and I also just, growing up, I think if you scaled that, it might work better.
Well, that is interesting that a 5-year-old is going the same amount of time as an 18-year-old. Granted,
Yeah, it's different.
they
it's
have,
different stuff.
you know, 2 recesses. They
Yeah.
probably have like snack times and play times and like carpet reading sessions to where, yeah, you're 18 and you're also, the material learning is,
Yeah,
you know, dense. But also learning the freaking ABCs for a 5-year-old is dense information.
yeah. But even look at that too, of like, okay, maybe not comparing the kindergarten to the 18-year-old, but compare the 18-year-old to the, you know, 10-year-old. It's like, the 10-year-old's sitting in class 8 hours a day too.
Sure.
It's like, that's a big difference between those two kids.
Yeah.
That's like,
That's why I always preach like to start kids in activities when they're younger, because
Yeah.
that is probably such a shock for them. How many people like, you
Well,
know,
true.
like they just haven't been around different people that much, not in their family.
yeah,
And it's like, here, go with this stranger
yeah,
and with a
Yeah.
bunch of other kids that you don't know. Like, that situation could be fine. I struggle with that so bad. But it's like I was in different activities, but with like at my mom's studio with people that I knew and were very comfortable with. And
yeah,
that's like, yeah, that's a tough break, I think, for some kids when they're not practicing getting to be like away from mom and dad and away
Yeah.
from, you know, things that they know and surroundings that they're familiar with. Like, it takes a long time for kids. I always tell parents that when they first come to me, like, if they cry the first couple weeks, I'm like, give them a month and a half. Like,
Yeah.
that's around how long it takes for your kid to just trust me.
Mm.
I was like, that's, sometimes it's awesome. There's like, going in,
Yeah.
see you later, mom.
yeah.
I don't care who this lady is. Like, I see, you know, something
I
fun
want
in
to get
there.
away from you.
I'm happy with it. I was like, it doesn't mean that you have a bad kid. It's like, they're just a little bit more, I'm going to feel you out, lady.
Yeah.
I don't know who you are. I've never been here before. I don't know any of these other kids. I didn't even know there were other kids my age. It's like,
Yeah.
you got to think, like, some 2-year-olds, how much are they, besides going to the park or going to the stores, like, seeing a room full of other 2-year-olds? If they're, like,
Yeah.
weren't at daycares? It's like, how many kids, like, there's more of
Yeah.
there's more of me?
I'm not the only
Like,
one.
we're all, and then they all start crying or they're all acting the same thing. Like, that could be so overwhelming and stimulating. I was like, yeah, I'd cry too. I want to cry right now. I have 10 2-year-olds crying in here. I want to cry too.
Yeah.
It's like, do you blame them? This is an insane thing to just, like, jump into and expect everybody to be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think, like, again, going back to just getting used to that schedule as you get older, it's like, it's probably better to start that off younger, of them going somewhere and getting that experience. It's 45 minutes or it's an hour, and you're doing that once a week. And then the next year, maybe you're doing 2 classes and it's, now doubled, and you're doing it more. They've gotten used to it, so they want to do a little bit more, and you just keep growing that, rather than, like,
Practice it when it doesn't really matter almost.
well, I just, like, I think you're setting up when they go to kindergarten and they're away from you for 8 hours a day now. You're setting it up for a little bit more success because they've had the practice of, I know what it's like to be away from family or mom and dad and with other kids, and rather than they've had 0 of that, and now you just throw them into kindergarten.
Yeah.
And they're gone. They have to be away from you for 8 hours a day. It's like, they're not used to that at all. That's a leap. Again, the gym example. It's like, you just went from not going to the gym ever to now you're going 6 days a week. It's like, that's going to be shocking and hard and difficult for them to go every day, and it's just going to be challenging, to where it's like, well, maybe if you started off with 1 a week, 2 a week, you grew it from there, then you get to this point where, it's not such a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, some kids take to it immediately, some don't. Whether they've had all the practice or not, I still think it's probably better to, like, scale that up. It's
Sure.
to me, it's like, it's always better. Everything, it's always better to scale it up or scale it down, whatever it is. It's like doing the cold turkey approach. It just doesn't last. That's my experience of stuff, but I don't know. It's just like, you have to find like the, almost like finding the new routine of it. It's like when you try to change your routine so drastically, it's hard to stay with that, because you naturally just start going into your old routine or other things that you like to do. But if you do it one at a time, you scale it, you just do that for a little bit, then you build a new routine of, now I'm going to the gym once a week, and it's a routine now. And then you scale it to 2. Now that just becomes regular and routine, so that when you do fall back, well, now I just fall back to 1 time a week.
Sure.
Rather than, I was going 0, now I go to 6, and now when I fall back, I go back to 0. It's like, you're at 0, you go to 1, and then you fall back to 0. Or you go 0, 1, now 2, and then when you fall back, it just goes back to 1. I think if you do the scaling up, when you do have your bad days or bad weeks, there's less of an aggressive, like, dip back down. It's like the binge restrict type of attitude too. It's like, people will go, like, I'm going to get healthy, and then they start eating perfect. But then a month or 2 later, like, it's just so much and so overwhelming that they end up going way back, and they start binging on food or whatever. Where it's like, if you just kind of allowed yourself to slowly get healthier and scale that up of, like, I'm going to do a little bit better than I was before, and then I'm going to grow it a little bit more. Now you don't go back and binge. You just go, like, well, it's okay if I have a little bit, because I'm allowing myself to. I decided that I'm just going to go, 3 good meals a week rather than 0. And you're just doing it slower. And I think when it does go negative, because it probably will turn at some point, it's not going to turn as bad, versus, like, I never allow myself to have anything bad ever. And then you go have that, like, 1 cookie at a party or something, and now it's just like the floodgates are open and it all crashes. To where it's like, if you've been allowing yourself to do that, you know how to restrict yourself of, like, yeah, 1's good, and then you're done, because you've had that practice.
I wonder how you can practice that, though. like, because that is a skill in itself, being able to portion control. And portion control, I don't mean that just with food, like portion control with work, portion control with your fitness, with your like fun activities, or maybe it's like the non-fun activities, and like, again, like maybe it's work, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like learning your ratios.
Yeah.
I think is a constant figuring it out.
Yeah, that's the balancing act. You're trying to find, like, you know, they talk about work-life balance, or just with everything, all the things you mentioned, diet, work, activity, you know, maybe it's time with your kids or whatever your things are. People, I think, just make too drastic of changes, thinking like, I'm going to kick myself into gear. Like, I just need to really go hard, and then it's going to stick. It's like, no, you're just kind of teaching yourself to burn out in a way. It's like you're going to go so aggressive to then burn out, and then it's over with. But I think, I don't know, I've done it too, where it's like you think that, oh, I'm just going to go 100% into this, and I'm going to really give it my all and everything. It's like, no, you kind of just need to give like 10%, because you want to find a new balance. You don't want to find, like, I'm going to start, like, I want to make more money, so I'm just going to start going for 12 hours a day to work. Or I'm going to get a side job, and then I'm working 12 hours a day. And it's like, maybe just like go 1 hour extra, or
practice
30
working
minutes.
more. Yeah.
Yeah. You're just practicing loading your plate a little bit more, because naturally, if you're going to go 1 hour longer at work, you're taking away an hour somewhere else, whether that's like rest time, whether that's going to the gym, it's time with your family. Like, it's the trade-off thing. It's not, you don't just start going to work more and then everything else you get the same.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
Or going to the gym. It's like, I'm going to start going 6 days a week. It's like, well, okay, but what are you taking out of your days now? Because you're deciding to put more into this category. You got to take away from other categories.
And that's where I think it's important to figure out, and that can change all the time, like what your important things are. It's like, yeah, we're those people that go to the gym 6 days a week, so what do we not do?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, are you okay with that?
Right.
Like, are you okay with losing time doing whatever? Like, I feel like I don't know, ours is pretty, we just don't have a lot to do.
No, we don't have a lot of responsibilities.
We have like 3. It's like we work, we go to the gym, and we cook. I feel like that's really all we do. Like, and go on 2 walks. It's like, it's not like we're trying to overload our plate with like doing a bunch of stuff, but still, it's like we can put a shit ton of time into all those things.
Yeah, and then when things change or we want to do something else, you know, you start finding like where to take from. Like ours would probably be taking from the activity. How much activity we have. It's like, okay, if we want to start working more,
take 1 walk out.
We have to take some of the walks out, or like time at the gym, or how many days a week we go to the gym. Like, you have to start balancing it out in a different way now. To where I think people are just like, I'm going to keep my regular schedule, and now I'm going to go to the gym 6 days a week. It's like, not only can you probably not handle that because you haven't been going, but your whole like equilibrium is off now. You're going to have to take time from something to go do that. And especially if you have people in your life like that may not work. It's like if you have a spouse and kids and stuff, and you're just like, I'm going to go to the gym right after work and be there for 2.5 hours. It's like, okay, well, are you spending any time with your spouse? Are you spending time with your kids? Like, now you're taking time away from them.
Or for something you want to do for fun. Yeah.
So it's like your relationships are now taking a hit. It's like, maybe you have to find a way to not be so extreme. I think that's why I like to just go a little bit, find that new equilibrium, and see, and then it's like, okay, maybe I can do another day at the gym, or maybe I can, you know, focus on getting another good meal in and cooking rather than like just ordering something or whatever, or time with people. It's like, just do it slow, because there's so much more longevity in that.
And I do think you're able to expand your bandwidth a little bit when you start adding them in, like adding things in slowly when you scale it.
Yeah.
Because then you're able to like add a little bit in, adjust. Add a little bit in, adjust. Figure out how all of those puzzle pieces work together with that new amount.
Yeah.
That I think you are obviously able to do way more. It's like we talked about the kindergarten versus the 18-year-old.
Yep.
It's like that kindergarten needs naps. Like they need to be able to have like snacks and breaks and maybe can't learn as much dense of things and then go home and do the same thing to where like an 18-year-old, you're kind of going to expect them to be able to do that all of that. And then do a sport and then, have relationships on top of that to where a 5-year-old, you're like, you crushed it today. Like you stayed at school and you did the whole thing and that is all you needed to do and you ate.
Yeah.
Like that's cool.
Yeah.
That I think you're able to expand your bandwidth, but it's with the practice of adding it in and like, how do the puzzle pieces all still keep matching together?
Yeah. Again, if you go too much too fast, like it's just going to crash and burn to where if you just add a little bit, it's like, how many people are like, if they're the regular Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, it's like they do that. And now Saturday and Sunday is like, I just relax and just do nothing all day, both days, because, I work so hard during the week. It's like, if you're wanting more than just that, you
because that can be fine.
That can be totally fine. If you're going, okay, but Saturday and Sunday would be perfect days for me to go to the gym since I'm not really able to during the week, or I can't consistently go during the week. It's like, okay, so maybe you just add one little thing on Saturday. And it maybe is just going to the gym for 30 minutes, or it's you have stuff at home and you do that at home. But I think people go to like, my Monday through Friday is already packed, but I need to start going to the gym. So I'm going to start going Monday, Wednesday, Friday because I need my rest days on Saturday, Sunday. I think you'd be surprised of like on those rest days, how good you would feel going. Specifically going to the gym and getting that thing done and then coming back. Like, I think your rest of the day, there's a mindset to it too of like, oh, I need to rest. And then you sit down and it's like, oh, I just need to recoup. And you just kind of get into that like, oh, I needed this. To where it's like, if you just kind of do one little thing, like right away in the morning, the ball starts to roll and then you're like, oh, actually, like I don't really need to rest. Like I can do other things. Maybe I'm doing little things here and there, or I'm a little bit more apt to like, let's go get lunch somewhere, go do something that I think there's more longevity and you're going to build something more with that rather than, oh, I'm going to just start going to the gym and hammering it, 4 days a week on my already busy days and then maybe a Saturday. And now you're like, your mindset's totally messed up now because you're thinking you're going so hard, so crazy on these days. It's maybe messing with something else, relationships, or your eating, or your sleep. And now you go Saturday, Sunday, and it's like, it's just a train wreck. You're just like lazy Joe on the couch and don't want to do anything because you think you did everything before. And then as weeks and months go by, you start going to the gym less during the week, and you're starting to work backwards now. It's like you added too much too fast, and now you're working backwards, and it didn't work out.
And that's one thing I think I need to recognize and remember is balance doesn't mean equal parts.
Yeah,
Or doesn't have to be in equal parts. Like, I think of, like food. Like, I'm not eating equal parts unhealthy food to healthy food. I'm eating majority healthy food with sprinkling in some non-healthy food. Because I think that's where people think like, oh, I'm going to have, one bad meal and I'm going to gain all this weight. Like, no, you gained the weight because you made a bunch of those decisions over and over again every day. Like, and they were little bits. Yeah. So it's like, you're like, well, I ate a salad, or maybe not a salad. That would be unhealthy for me. But it's like, I ate,
Well, for you, like that.
It's not unhealthy for me.
It would mess up your gut.
Irritate my stomach right now. Yeah.
Where it's like, if it's.
Would I love to get back to eating bag salads? Yes.
Yeah. It's just, It's like for you that it would mess up your gut and make you uncomfortable. And it's like, well, now you're probably not properly digesting that food, and it's not that salad's unhealthy.
No, I think it's great. I just did not have balance.
Yeah.
I ate way too crazy as a kid, and then when I started eating, I had all of the vegetables and
150.
the largest portions.
Yeah.
It's like talking about balance. not
You know,
not
like
find it
the
there.
salad bowls at restaurants, that's what you would make just at home. You go to Olive Garden, you
Yes.
get like unlimited salad. That's
I ate that whole thing.
that's like your whole
Yes.
insane.
I was
Like,
watching.
why is my stomach hurt? It's like, I don't know. You just had like 400 grams of fiber.
It was insane. Now, it's like when you watch yourself or like see old pictures of yourself and you're like, what was the thought process there?
Yeah.
I watched a video where I was like, it was like for the YouTube, like making my salad bowl or whatever.
One of the vlogs.
Holy crap. I'm like, did I just put a whole head of cabbage in there?
Yeah.
I did the regular green cabbage, so much of it, purple cabbage, so much of it, onions, and I did like lemon and lime dressing, but it was like 4 vegetables. Oh, and I topped it off with cut up Brussels sprouts, like raw. All of this is raw. Now I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, just so hilarious.
I think.
But the balance things, like it doesn't have to be equal parts.
Yes.
Like, yeah, you might have more work than you have fun. You might be.
You probably should.
You have more time at the gym than you do sitting on the couch. You have, like, balance doesn't mean equal parts. It's just figuring out where. I see it as like, okay, you have your, what is that, like in video games when you have like your life bar? This could be in like one game, and I'm like, they all have it, right? Or like it shows like it's like your energy bar.
Your references are things you know nothing about.
That's just
you know, like video games.
That's like, the always like that's like what like I visualize when I think of
your
like
life bar.
It's like it's almost like a little thing where it shows like, oh, like if you've been killed 3 times, now your life energy or whatever is less. That's part of the game, maybe.
Sure.
But I see it as like, okay, I have this much energy,
I'd
juice
love to
in
be
the
in your
tank.
brain right now, like this video game
Visual?
thing. That's hilarious.
That it's like, okay, I only say I'm at my cup is full to 100%. I can choose where I pour out certain amounts of water into what cups.
Yeah.
That it's like, okay, well, in order for me to get a bigger cup, if that's the goal is to get a bigger cup, then I need to appropriately put the water into cups that are going to help this grow more.
Yeah.
Not like I'm going to put it all in the fun cup and now there was no work, there was no progress into putting, something, building something, putting forth that now it's like, cool, I have a lot of fun. My fun cup is filled, but I didn't build anything. Like I didn't create anything or set myself up. So now, okay, well, only one thing is full, but all the other ones are empty.
Right. Well, and I think too, like with that analogy, if you have a bunch of different cups, like maybe it's exercise or like health and your nutrition, and then you have like work and you have relationships and you have sleep, you have a bunch of these different ones. I like that analogy of like how much water, how much juice are you going to put in each one of those, and everybody's is going to look different and be the most fulfilling to them. It's like some people don't need a lot of fun, or some people don't need a lot of exercise or something. Maybe just going 1 or 2 times a week just to keep themselves like pretty healthy and good. They just do enough to get them through, but they love what they do, so they have a lot in their work cup, and maybe they have a little bit more in their sleep cup because they know that that's important, and they need to make sure that those things, they have enough sleep to be able to do the things they want to do, and they have just a little bit in fun cup because I get so much fulfillment just from my work. To where like other people's it's going to be completely different. It's like, just how much are you using in each one? And that's kind of what I see when you say like balance doesn't mean it's all equal. Like it doesn't mean that all those cups are going to have the same water level. It's like, well, that might not be the most fulfilling to you. Like the most fulfilling to me is like, I want to be able to go to the gym 6-7 days a week, go on 2 or 3 walks. Like, I want my exercise cup like filled to the top, and I would like my work cup as little as possible. Like, I don't want to work. And then fun cup, I'm like, it depends on what you call fun, I guess. But and then sleep cup filled. Yeah, it's like mine is going to look so different to somebody else, to where that balance is what is most fulfilling to me and works for me, and then somebody else can have something different that's most fulfilling to them. And I think they people talk about the work-life balance or balance, like what you're saying. When we're thinking of balance or talking about balance, I think we typically think like all needs to be equal. It's like, well, I work this much, so I need to exercise this much, and then I need to sleep this much, and then I need to have this. It's like, no, whatever's more fulfilling. If you're super fulfilled at work, like, spend more time at work. It's like there's no problem with that. If you love sleeping, just sleep. Find a way to sleep 10 hours a day.
And I don't like the word like triggered, but I wonder if for some people, like, saying fulfilling is like, guy, I have no choice. Like, not that I have no choice.
Sure.
I think everybody always has a choice in their ability to change what their life is. Always. I will never not believe that. But yeah, it's hard. It's like who's that person that you need to work? You need to, be making a shit ton of money, or you need to, that is where I talk about you can expand your bandwidth. You might not be able to do that right now. Look at all your cups and go, well, what's fulfilling for me? What amount of water do I want to put in each one? It's like, well, that's where you can expand out and go, well, my ideal situation, or what I would try to like to do in the space that I'm in now, what I think I would like to have a little bit more in this cup or whatever. Mm-hmm. Then you can start to slowly implement the behaviors that will create. You still might need to have your work cup really freaking high and really filled up, but what can you do with these other things so that your bandwidth can expand, that you can still get these other things, and it won't make it seem like the ones you don't like are your whole life.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to what we were talking about before. You have to do these things slow and incrementally. If you try to change everything all at once, and that's the thing, is like, some people might not be able to change everything at once. If you have 2 kids, you have a mortgage, you have 2 cars you're paying for, like, all this different shit that you have to do. It's
one thing at a time.
Yeah, your work cup might have to be full because you gotta be able to pay for what you're doing and afford it. And you may not like your job and you want to try to switch and change out of it and whatever. You've got to find a way to get out of that, or to, like, I don't know, just make it better for you. That thing I think that happens at least the safest way, and probably the most successful way is by slow incremental changes. Not by like, I'm just going to throw everything to the curb and change everything, because now you go do that. Well, now everything might be out of whack, and things might start, they'll crash and burn, or it's just too much too fast. Like, again, like, people are they're forced into a situation because of what they've slowly built that.
Yes.
You have slowly built everything that you're forced into a situation where you can't just like, oh, I'm just going to like completely upend and switch a job. You have to slowly find a way to maybe find your way out of it, or, grow so that you're in a better position. You get, promoted or something, or I don't know. You have to do it slowly, I think, in order for it to stick and last, and also be the safest, because you don't want to throw everything away and then realize like, oh, I needed all of that, and now what?
Yeah.
And now it's even more stressful than it was before.
Yeah. Well, it's like slow changes. It's also easy to take back and adjust. Like, if you make big, large jumps and changes, you might be stuck for a little bit in that position, versus like, let's test the waters on some of these things, or, you can kind of adapt as you go. But I think, small changes, and that goes for anything. Like, add slowly, expand your bandwidth very slowly, which maybe doesn't seem exciting, but
it's totally
exciting when it works.
It's totally
that's what's exciting to me.
And I think that's I'm the freaking king of let's 100% like blinders on, change everything, go for it. And I think that's why I'm like, don't do that, because it just it has not worked. Like you have to, in my experience, and I don't know, just like seeing how it seems like everything kind of works, is you do too much too fast and make too drastic of changes. I think we all like to think like we're the person that can do that, of like, I'm just going to start going 5 days a week to the gym and it's going to stick, and it's just going to happen. It's like, it's just, that's so unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, even if you mentally can do it, your body might not be able to do it.
Right.
Or vice versa. Your body can do it, but you can't. Whenever you think of the gym, you hate it.
Right. And then, yeah, especially that. Like, there's so many different avenues it can go, but kind of like what you just said, like now you have a bad relationship with it.
Right.
And you're forcing yourself to go to the gym 5 days a week because you're trying to be tough, or you're trying to like be that guy that can do it all. It's like, it's just not going to work. Like, you're going to crash and burn, then you're going to be in a worse position before, or you're back to this position and now you know you failed. So you kind of are in a worse position, even though it was the same position you were before. You have this idea now that like, oh, I failed and that didn't work. And now, you know, you're kind of looking at yourself that way of like, oh shit, I just failed that thing. Now what? Now I don't know what to do.
That's where I think you can go back to like what we talked about with the kids and learning, like setting behaviors. That's what I'm learning to do with myself right now, is like, what's the skill and what's the behavior? I think we get confused with what is what. So it's like, if I want to focus something on more with fitness, it's like, okay, well, I think I could be a little bit more dialed in with my food. That's the skill, is being dialed in with my food and learning about macros and what they do and what certain nutrients could I benefit from or not benefit from, or like, why do these big salads hurt my stomach? But it's like, that's the skill. What's the foundation that I need to learn? I need to practice like recording something every day. Like what is the best setup that's going to work for me that I'm going to be consistent with? Am I going to write it down? Am I going to put it in my phone? Is there something simple that I can start tracking that I'm really interested in right now? Like, could I just start tracking my protein?
Something and you're talking about the quote unquote dialed in part. Like, what even is dialed in?
To me, like the skill of dialed in is like knowing what's going in my body, what's the benefits of it, like.
That's the skill, and the behavior part you're talking about is like, well, what does dialed in mean?
Right.
And it's like, well, tracking your food, or writing those things down. Yeah.
That's like
just clarifying.
The behavior is, what's the best way that I'm going to be able to take in that information, utilize it, and then repeat that pattern over and over again.
Yeah.
It's like, I may go, well, I'm just going to start doing it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you've never done this before, so probably not. Like, you're probably not going to keep up with it. You might do it for a little bit, but you're going to try to learn the information about the food, learn what you need and why. You also got to set in some sort of like, well, what's happening already? What are you taking in already? It's like, just practice, slow it down one step at a time.
Yeah.
Do you like writing things in a notebook, or do you like putting it in your phone?
Yeah.
It's like that simple thing alone could be whether that works or doesn't work.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like you're jumping 10 steps ahead. It's like, do you like writing shit down, or do you like putting it in your phone? Figure that out first. Now go to the next thing.
Yeah.
What's the one thing that you maybe want to track, or like what's important to you? Then just start tracking that maybe every once in a while. Like, I'm just going to do it on weekends.
It's like what I said earlier. I don't know if it was part of the secret 10 minutes that we had or the real, part of this, but like, I figured out how I learn best, and it's through audio. It's by listening. I don't comprehend well by reading. So it's like, if I am going, I just want to learn more. And then my direction of that is like,
get all the books.
I'm just going to get a shit ton of books and read a bunch of articles. And then I'm realizing like, I hate this. This isn't enjoyable. I don't want to learn now.
Yeah.
Like, it's not working. Like, that's going to make me fall off and not do it anymore, to where it's like, I didn't pick the right behavior. It wasn't reading the books and that sort of thing. It was like, oh, get audiobooks or listen to podcasts or find ways where the learning is going to be from hearing it. Like I'm so much better that way. Now I'm going to enjoy doing it and I'm enjoying it. Like I'm listening to podcasts all day long and I can't get,
Isn't it
I can't
funny
get enough
how
of
we
it.
don't see that as like learning? I don't. Like to me, I'm like, oh, I'm just listening to a podcast. Even though it's something like Andrew Huberman where I'm like, I don't know half the shit you're talking about. I could be listening to a freaking science class right now. Yeah. But I'm like, but I didn't read it, so like it doesn't count.
Yeah.
Like and someone told me it. It's like, that's all school is.
Yeah.
Teachers are lecturing to you.
Yep.
And how is that any different? Just because I can't see the guy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I'm watching it on a TV. So it's like, well, this doesn't count.
I'm watching TV right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're watching a podcast. You're being lazy.
Yep.
It's like, and what are you talking about? No.
Yeah.
No.
And that's where, yeah, it's like, that is weird of like, I'll listen to 6 podcasts a day type of thing. Mm-hmm. And that's, could be 6 hours, 8 hours. It's like, if I spent that much time reading, like, I think like listening to the podcast, I'm like, oh man, I'm like not getting anything done. But if I go like, okay, just take that and do reading, be like, oh my God, I'm reading like 8 hours a day. Like,
right.
I'm learning. I'm so smart. I'm doing all this shit. It's like, it's just a different form.
Yeah. And I would even
the same, but different. And it's like, and the 8 hours of reading a day, oh my God, that would never happen. I would never get to that.
No.
I would never get to 8 hours a day reading.
No.
Never. But I'll listen to 8 podcasts in a day.
Yes.
It's like, you just have to find your form sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's where my thoughts with exercise is starting to change is like, look, I get that weightlifting we're starting to find it's probably more important than the cardio aspect. But if you're not going to go exercise, if you know it's weightlifting and you're not going to go exercise, then like it's what are we doing?
And that's where I go start with the behavior. It's like if you think, well, and it's being honest with yourself of what's going on. If you know, it's like I'm trying to think of myself like. Such a long pause. But like you can't just go, well, this is the thing I do, so this is the best. Like know that weightlifting is probably superior to then you going and taking a Zumba class or you walking on the treadmill or whatever. You can't just go, well, this is the best. No, this is the best based off of a shit ton of research, but that's the skill. Like if you're not ready to do that yet, the behavior. What's going to get you to come to the gym?
Yes.
If it's going to the Zumba class, going to the spin class, going and just walking on the treadmill.
Yep.
If that's going to be the thing that gets you into the door, okay, cool. You don't even need to worry about getting the skill yet. You're not going there because this is beneficial, which I know seems maybe like a waste of time to people in your head, but like you're not at the point where you get to set goals yet or get the benefits. You're just setting the foundation of doing the action. Yeah. It's like the person that doesn't go to the gym consistently and they're like, well, I want to look like that. It's like, you don't even come to the gym. You just got to practice coming to the gym.
Yep.
Do that for a long time. Then you can maybe start making adjustments of like, well, I want to lose weight or I want to gain muscle or I want to da-da-da-da-da. Mm-hmm. It's like, that takes a long time. But you taking the time to do that, you'll be way more consistent than anybody else.
Yeah, I think so. Because you're building a better relationship with it immediately. Of like, oh, I'm going and doing this because...
Could you break down, what does that mean, building a relationship in your head with those things?
Well, I think like building a good relationship, it's just...
Yeah.
There's a difference. Building a good relationship, building a bad relationship with it. So many people, especially with the gym, build a bad relationship with it. Where I think like the key number one thing is, are you really dreading going? You probably have a bad relationship with it. If that's happening more times than not.
Sure.
There's some days where we're like, man, this sounds like shit. I don't want to go.
Yeah.
But most of the time we're like, yeah, let's go do this. It's fine. It's kind of easy breezy.
It's just something in our schedule now.
Yeah, not worried about going, not overly excited to go, but just like, yeah, let's go do this. I think that's a good relationship. I think if you're like over the moon excited to go every day, that's even better. That's the best relationship you could have with it. But I think that starting at that point of like, I don't want to go, and that is consistent all the time. It's like you've built a bad relationship with it.
Mm-hmm.
And in my like experience, I think that happens because you're going for what you almost like think you should do rather than what you want to do, which at some point that should probably switch. But you need to build that relationship of like, I actually kind of enjoy going to the gym. I like the time being there. And if to begin with that is by going and walking on the treadmill for 30 minutes, do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you slowly get a routine of that and doing that more, I think naturally you start to like, okay, I know this weightlifting thing is like important and it's something that I've been hearing more about and I should be doing it a little bit more. Now I'm going to start experimenting with a little bit of that stuff. So maybe start going on the machines. They're pretty self-explanatory, and you just go and start pushing on the machines and doing stuff. You're just naturally growing and doing what you should be doing. And that's all because you built a good relationship in the beginning. To where you take the person that starts at 0 and they're like, well, I know I'm supposed to go weightlift, and they go do it and they hate it. And now you're forcing yourself to go because you think that's what you should be doing. That person's going to build a bad relationship with the gym, and that person's going to be the one that ends up, they're going to stop going. To where, give me the person that enjoys going to the gym and does the wrong things versus the person that is doing the right things but hates going to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
That person that likes going has way more longevity, and they're going to continue to go for way longer than the person that doesn't like doing it.
Yeah.
It's just like, I kind of see that with everything. Like, if you are going to work dreading it every single day, you're probably not going to last that long. Whether it's at that job or, like, just your mood sucks then. To where all the things you talk about, like how many benefits of, like, just mentally and joy and all that stuff we get from the gym. And then people are like, how? Like, I hate it. It sucks.
Yeah.
It's the worst. And it's like,
well, or it's like, it's different for you. You like it. It's like, I built that.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't always like going.
Well, I mean, like for me, my first activity was, well, most people, it's like just a kid running around playing and doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
But then it was like
I was not that
a
kid.
sport. Now it's football. And now I really enjoy that. And you just are picking these things that you're enjoying all the time. It slowly grows into just liking activity.
Mm-hmm.
To where people are like getting forced to do a sport they don't want to do, or forced to do an extracurricular they don't want to do, or their parent is dragging them to the gym every day and they have to sit there, and it's always this like shitty thing they have to do. That's just going to continue because you're not picking the thing that's fun. But I think if you're a person starting at 0, that's my suggestion of.
Or if you're that person that's like, I've been doing this for years, but I hate it.
Right.
Like, take it back. Start from scratch.
Yeah, I would start from scratch. What do you like? And go do that.
Yeah.
Even if you know or have heard that's not the best thing for you.
Who cares?
Who cares?
You're not to that point of doing the best thing for you yet. Like, that is the luxury skill. I also, side note, I would, like, I do want to get back to this. But, like, you're like, kids just start running around. I would love to know if I ever, like, ran around.
Seeing how you move, I don't know if you've ever
like, and
ran
I feel like a kid at a playground, it's like, I'm the one, like, walking to the thing and, like, slowly going up the steps, finding the slide that I want, very, like, cautiously sitting down. Like, I'm not the kid that, like, runs, like, grabs onto the handles and, like, flings themselves down the sides. Like, I'm making sure I'm all set up. I'm going to sit down so that I'm not going to hit the sides when I go down.
I bet everybody
like,
loved
me
being
running. I was like, I can't even imagine that. But, okay.
You're playing soccer, you're just, like, walking to the ball.
Oh, yeah. That's why I didn't like it, because it was scary, everybody coming to me, but that's why I kind of like playing goalie. Because, like, I could just stay there.
Well, that's the same thing.
Well, because I didn't have to run the field
Well,
back and forth.
I get that, but like everybody coming to you, that's the goal.
Well, no, I'm saying that's the only reason I didn't like it, because everybody was coming at me.
Gotcha.
But at least, but I do remember sometimes liking that somewhat, the running, because then it's like, it looks like I'm doing something. But it would just be like, I'd be on the side. It's like, I don't want to be in the mix getting the ball. It's like, I'll be on the side here, but don't you even think about putting me in the pressure point of now I have to do something with this.
That's so funny.
It's like, no.
Going back to the other stuff, it's what you were saying in the beginning, like behavior. You have to build the behavior before you build the skill.
The skill,
like you said. Like, even if it's, I only like going in the sauna. The gym I go to has a sauna. That's the only thing. Go do the sauna. Go do 20 minutes of sauna then.
Yeah.
Like once a week, if that's what you can do, or 7 days a week. Like, go do it. Just do what you enjoy, and then my opinion is naturally you're gonna start. Like, you're just naturally going to start filtering or going into other things. It's like, okay, well, maybe I'm kind of ready to try this and see what happens. But then still do it slow. You're doing the sauna. Now it's like, okay, maybe I should try the treadmill. I don't really mind that, right? The elliptical. I don't mind that. Now you do that one day a week. You don't go to 7. You go 1 day a week. See how that works. Then maybe you can find a routine in that. And then it's like, okay, well, I got this down. Now maybe I'll try to like just pick 1 or 2 machines, and I'll do like a couple sets of 10 on those. And then you pick 2 machines and you do that. It's like, even in that, it's like you've already grown so much. You went from just doing the sauna to now you do elliptical and 2 machines a week. Like, that's incredible growth. And I think people don't realize how big that is, because they just see the person that's doing all the shit already. It's like, well, they had to kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
They had to slowly grow to that.
And that's where I think there's 2 ends of the spectrum with that, is being honest with yourself and knowing, like what I said with the weights. Like, don't go on the treadmill all the time and go like, well, the weights. Like, that's not what you're supposed to do. Like, be open to everything. And I hate cardio, but there is a benefit to it. There's a reason to do it. There's like a place where you can implement it once you start to be strategic with your programming. But also not going like, well, that person in the gym looks like that, likes going, or I talked, to us and they're like, they love it. It's like, okay, cool. But that's like we're on 2 different playing fields right now. Like with that person, like that person maybe, and hopefully has already done the work of creating the behavior. So that's how they get to that point. It's like, they like coming here, or they at least understand the benefit and the reason to do it and have it be a part of your life. That if you're going in thinking, well, I'm going to start going to the gym and I'm going to lose a bunch of weight. Like, that's not what you're supposed to be. Break it down. Because then you're going to get disappointed in yourself when you're not doing that. But if you go in thinking, I'm just here to create a relationship and to create a behavior, you going in and doing literally whatever.
You did it.
You did
Success.
it. Yeah. It's like you're trying to build up the self-esteem and to me, the relationship thing is just like any relationship, you're more so learning how you work within that partnership. So it's like my relationship with the gym and food, how do I work in that? What are my typical tendencies? What works for me? What doesn't work for me? Like, I think going to the gym, like I maybe have learned I like going a little bit earlier in the morning. So maybe I'll structure my day around that. Or maybe I'm the person that I know I need to go on Wednesdays. I don't like going on Tuesdays. For whatever reason, I like going on Wednesdays. So then you can figure out, okay, how do I structure around that? I like wearing these kinds of clothes. I like having having energy drinks, or I like having this thing with me. I like working out with music or whatever. You're just figuring out how you work within that thing. So now you know how to make it work for you and make it more consistent. I think when you think of relationships, like whether it's your kids or your spouse or your siblings, whatever you care about the most, because maybe it's not all 3 of those, but whatever relationship you care about the most, think about how you want to act in those. It's like being a parent. Are you going to be a better parent if you're probably consistent? Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus like disciplining them sometimes, letting them get away with some things. It's like, I'm going to love you today, but tomorrow, I don't know.
Right.
It's
I'm
like,
going to be strict about this today, but then tomorrow I won't be strict
yeah,
about it.
It's like,
yeah.
you can see how that works in that dynamic. It's the same thing with anything.
Yeah.
It's like, what ways are you going to make it work for you? You're going to probably keep adjusting. Like, I think, again, going back to the parenting thing, you're going to keep adjusting to figure out what works because you can't not find a solution. You're not going to like, some days I'll do it and then I'll fall off for a month. It's like, I'll start right on January 1st and then like, it's going to fade probably by December. It's like, no, you can't with being a parent.
Yeah.
This is kind of the same thing. Like, you're setting the structure so that can be a long lasting relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
And healthy.
It's the behavior first and slow and steady, you know? It's like I love cliches so much. Like slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah.
You know, turtle in the hair type of thing. It's like and it's so true of when you look at like that story of the turtle in the hair. It's like, look how spastic the hair is, and it's like, I'm on the thing for like 10 seconds. I'm going super hard. Now I'm off of it, and now I'm distracted, and now I'm not doing it. It's like, that is so how people go to the gym and treat that relationship. It's probably how you treat your eating. It's how you treat a lot of things that like, and I don't know where that comes from. Like, it seems like we're all like that in a way.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, it seems like everybody kind of has that same problem of really aggressive and then backs off hard, and then really aggressive, and it's like aggressive for a short period of time.
It's like the yo-yo effect.
And it's weird that it seems like everybody has that. And it maybe not be
in the same element,
in the same
but
things of, whether like with the gym but it's something else they'll have it in. And it's funny to me because it's like, it's always the thing that they don't feel like they're good at, or they don't have down pat. You know, it's like they do that with work, or they do it with the gym, but that thing is always their problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not sitting here going like, we just really have a problem with the gym. Like, we're so consistent. We go 6 days a week. Like, we wish we'd like go hard and then back off and go. Like, nobody wants that relationship with it.
I think, I don't know where the, like,
where it comes from.
Yeah. Like where the origin is. I don't know the origin story of
Wolverine.
But like, maybe it's like that whole like rat race thing. Like, you're always trying to create the next thing or have the next invention, or like, I'm thinking like old time, like, or even now, like, you want the next big thing. You always want to like be on the brink of the whatever that maybe that just translates into kind of everything. But also I think we really confuse and we really rely on motivation versus consistency. I think motivation, it's what you said about relationships, and it is one of the smartest things you ever said. It's not your smartest idea. Noodles cup. But it wasn't even the smartest thing that you've ever said. Of why, like, in relationships, people say like, well, there's no spark anymore. And you're like, think of the word.
Yeah,
it's a spark.
Is.
It's supposed to flash in, flash out. Yeah. That's it. It's not supposed to be a consistent simmer.
Yeah.
It's like, the spark is supposed to go away. It's a spark.
Yeah.
So I think same thing with motivation. It's a spark. It can be enough to light the fire, but you have to consistently feed the fire, put more wood on, keep like, make sure that there's oxygen so it keeps fueling. I've never made a fire.
Never made a fire in your life.
You got to make sure you have the lighter fluid. You got to make sure you have
You're just saying like key words. It's like fire, oxygen, wood, things that start on fire.
You got to have a fire table that you have propane going into where you flick on the button.
So like 2023 starting a fire. Do you know how to start a fire? Yeah, for sure. You got to turn the propane tank on.
But even that, I wouldn't even know how to do that.
Yeah. But no, you're totally right. It's like, I don't think people, they definitely don't see it in that way for sure. But I don't know. I think it's a good analogy of you have that. Well, and like you said, it's not even just for relationships. It's really for anything. Like, you're trying to build this behavior or build a good relationship with this thing. The spark, like you said, could be motivation, and that gets the thing lit. Now you have to, like, you got to make sure you're lighting the right thing too. You can't go up to a piece of wood and light a piece of wood on fire, really. I mean, if you have a freaking flamethrower, sure, but that's not really the analogy here. It's like, you have the spark, and that lights, the kindling or the piece of paper.
Pre-workout.
Yeah, that's a pretty good spark. That might be a big spark. But yeah, then you, like, exactly what you said. You have to now tend to it.
Yes.
You don't just light it and then it's fine. You just sit back and relax. Like, you have to start small. You have to start with the kindling, and you have to start with small pieces of wood, and then you even have to organize it and stack it in a good way, in a correct way, so that it's getting oxygen from all areas, and then it can have an area to, okay, now it's lighting the next thing on fire. It's a little bit bigger of a log, and now you're having to constantly put more wood on it and keep it going. It's not a spark and then you're done. And that's how people treat, like, the motivation thing, is they think the motivation is I'm motivated, so now I'm going to do it. Well, that shit runs out real quick. You have to now tend to that. You have to build consistency. You have to, maybe it's building a schedule of, like, I go on Wednesdays and that's the day I go. And you're constantly feeding and tending to that fire. And you just keep going. And then you can build bigger and bigger and bigger to where now you're going 4 days a week and you're doing a wide variety of stuff. Your sauna, you're doing a little bit of cardio. You're going and doing a couple machines and working on, getting a little bit stronger. And then maybe you see some people doing some squats and you're like, ooh, that looks scary, but I've gotten to a point where maybe I'm ready to do something like that. So now you're kind of watching them and seeing what they do. And then you
do I do better on my own, or do I like having programs written for me, or do I even more so do I like a personal trainer versus coming on my own? Or
yeah, you're just constantly feeding and tending to it. Too many people want to light the fire. They want to have the spark, have the motivation, and let that carry them through everything. And that's just not how it works.
But there's still a place for the spark. There's a place for the motivation.
Yeah.
It's like, that's for some people or some things, like, you think of like someone that you like. It's like the spark is the attraction to them, whether that's physically or just like something about them. That's just what gets you in the door. That's what gets you over the hard part of, like, having to meet someone else, or like try a new thing, or try a new job, or move. Like, the interest, the motivation, the spark, that's just what gets you up to the plate. Now you got to build the thing to like maintain it and build that relationship up.
Yeah.
There's a place for motivation, but if you're relying on motivation for everything in life, it's going to be freaking hard, because motivation,
it lasts as long as a spark.
Yeah, it lasts as long as a spark.
Yeah.
And you can't always expect to create motivation. It's like, how many people are like, I'm just waiting for the motivation to do this. It's like, it may never come.
Right. Because there's some people that just, they don't like the thing. They don't like working out. They don't like eating healthy. They don't like going to work. They don't like sleeping.
But maybe that's your motivation, is like, I see someone that I want to look like, or I see them walking and with ease, and I want to be able to do that. Let maybe that be your motivation.
Yeah.
And then go, okay, what do I got to build and set up to have that happen?
Yeah. I think too, like, we generally all know, like, should exercise in some way. And maybe you never have a motivation for that.
Yeah.
That's where you have to create it.
Yeah.
Not create motivation, but you just have to. You can't have any motivation then. It's like, you just have to build this without it. You have to build it without a spark.
Yep.
You don't, like, there's some people that just, they don't get pumped up or inspired or motivated from, seeing other people healthy or seeing something that would push them in that direction. That's like, you kind of just got to do it without any spark. And it's still the same process. You still start small. You don't try to manufacture, like, a spark by, like, I'm going to go 6 days a week. It's like, you just do what you have to do. Go once a week and start small. Start with something you like. And if you don't like anything, then you got a free freaking platform. It's like, pick one thing then.
Yeah.
And pick the thing that you think is most beneficial. If you hate everything,
now go to, like, okay, what are the signs telling me, like, okay, this is probably the best thing to do?
Yeah. What are people saying that is the best thing? I'm just going to do that. So I only need to do very minimal amount of work.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you hate everything, but you hear weightlifting is probably the best thing for you. Okay, I'm going to do that and not even mess with cardio, mess with, freaking high intensity training or, saunas or
stretching or
any of the stuff. Like I'm going to go in, I'm not even going to freaking warm up. I'm just going to go in,
Yep.
lift a couple weights over my head 10 times, set them down, walk out. Like if that's all you can do, you're still starting somewhere, and you do that consistently enough, I think you'll start to warm yourself up to like, okay, maybe I should do a little bit more. I should do maybe 2 things now, or maybe I'll do a warm up now and I'll do my lift it over my head and then leave. It's like you just slowly still go into it.
It's almost like you have to see long term sometimes to then think about how do I set up the structure to do that. It's like I want to like going back to the kids and the dance class. Okay, you want to learn the skills and be a good dancer. Well, I can't teach you that if you don't know how to follow directions. I can't teach you that if you don't know how to focus. I can't teach you that if you don't know the benefit of just showing up to class or bringing the right shoes or wearing the right thing or setting yourself up for success by bringing a water bottle. Like, we can't even touch the actual material until you learn those things. So if you go, well, I want to have that. Okay, now backtrack. Just practice driving to the gym.
Yeah.
Because that's more than what you're, like, that's still something.
Yeah.
Now practice going there and then just trying one thing. Okay, great. That's benefit. Now do is like slowly just like adding things that build up to your maybe overall, like, I want to be someone that goes to the gym consistently and has somewhat of a structure. So I'm not just aimlessly going in there. Okay, what are the little steps to do that? Maybe you figure out maybe a certain person that you could buy their program or watch what they do or get advice from them. So now you have the structure down. Practicing going and just doing the simple things. That maybe could be a little bit somewhat of the motivation if you have an end game. Rather than just like, so I just got to do this forever.
Yeah.
It might be better to set like mini checkpoints potentially.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of people too, they'll be like, I want to be the person that goes to the gym 5 days a week. And they just go, okay, so I'm going to start going 5 days a week then. It's like, you got to start at the beginning. It's like everybody wants to leapfrog. Everybody wants to like, which going back to the kind of why we started talking about motivation and stuff of why does it seem like everybody kind of has that when they don't have the thing dialed in, they blitz and do a whole lot and they're aggressive and then they back off and it's, crash and burn type of thing. I think like we all want to do as little amount of work and get the most out of it kind of thing, that people go, oh, 5 days a week, I'm just going to start doing that and just go really aggressive and do it and then it'll stick. They don't want to take the weeks, months, years to build up to that. They just want to do it immediately and have it be regular. It's like, again, it just doesn't work that way. It just does not work that way. You have to build everything. It's like take a kid, take a 5-year-old that it's like they want to learn calculus one day. It's like you can't just start teaching them calculus. Like they have to slowly learn math. They have to learn their numbers. They have they have to learn, like it's like the checkpoints thing. They have to get to these points where they can now get more and then do a little bit more and then do a little bit more.
And I think that's why I say like bring up the checkpoint thing, because if you add little incremental checkpoints, then I don't think the major goal or the major like what you want to do just consistently of the rest of your life won't seem so overwhelming. It's like a 5-year-old and you go, well, I want you to learn calculus one day. It's like, well, that seems daunting. And you're also so far away from that. So you're just going to be disappointed until you get to that. That's a long road of disappointment and not measuring up to what you want. To where if you just need to learn 1 through 10 and how to write it and understand what they are and in what order they go in.
What is 10?
what it symbolizes. Like, cool, you're going to get to a checkpoint where you're like, cool, I did that. Now what's next? But I can still get to something that all measures up to one thing and be able to like have self-esteem, confidence, learn myself through each of those stages.
Yeah, because otherwise you're sitting there going, well, I don't know calculus yet. I still don't know calculus yet. Oh, another day, another week, another month. I still don't know it yet. I still can't, if it's going to the gym 5 days a week, that's my goal. Well, I'm only going once. I'm still not going 5. It's like you're comparing you now to the, like, what you want in the future. That's just it's too much. That's where the checkpoints are perfect. If it's like, okay, let's start with what can I do and accomplish right now? Okay, 1 day a week. I want to get to 5, but that's kind of put in the back of my head. Like, it's down the line, down in the future. Let me worry about what I can do right now. 1 day a week. Okay, let's do that. So you start doing that, and you get that. Okay, now let's go to 2, and then you start doing that. Those are your checkpoints.
And when you do the bits at a time, say like you're starting you want to go to 5, but you are starting at 1. Now you can put all of your energy into that 1 day a week. You're like, I'm going to come in 1 day a week and it's going to be awesome. I'm going to put in the most amount of effort that I can. I'm going to be consistent with it. I'm going to be smart with what I'm doing. Then you add.
Yeah.
But it really is just like building yourself up for that.
And it's so goddamn hard. It's so hard. Like, I think how we're talking about it is it's like, oh yeah, just do this and then it'll work. To where it's like, it's so difficult. It's so difficult to consistently week after week be patient and be okay with like, nope, this is the process. I go once a week. I need to do this for a certain amount of time to establish that I can do this. And now I'm going twice, or maybe it's not even twice, but it's like I'm going once a week, but I'll do a bonus day every other week. And then you're doing that. It's like, but that's so hard. We want to be at 5 so bad. We want to be at 5 days so bad. And I get it. It's so difficult. But the way that you're going to get there is by doing the process and doing the steps, having the checkpoints, doing it slowly. Because it does.
It sucks in the moment.
It's so hard.
But if you could just zoom out and see like you 10 years from now and like, oh, I'm someone that goes to the gym consistently. I eat a little bit better now because I'm more focused on my health. I can now have goals within my fitness.
Yep.
But if none of that happens unless you start 1 day a month or 1 day a week or whatever is, your starting point, you're going to go, oh, well, I can do that. If I get to that, great.
Yeah.
It's like we just want to jump to the thing because we want to know like, oh, I can achieve it. Like I did it.
Yep.
It's like if you build in the structure, it's like I'm so happy that I started out in that way because now it's easy for me. Now it's a part of my daily routine. Now it's like I'm so focused on it and I know I have the trust in myself that will not waver.
Yeah.
To where before, if I would have just sprung into it right away, I don't know. Well, it might be like, well, it works when everything is going fine.
All right, yeah.
But if shit hits the fan or my schedule gets out of whack or whatever, like, I don't know if I'm going to be consistent with it. It's like, I know no matter what happens, I don't even have to think about that.
And that's what's so funny, I think, is like, we want to be at that 5 day a week thing right away and as quick as possible, to where like if you told somebody like, okay, we don't know whether or not you're going to achieve it of 5 days a week, but let's start with that and we'll see. And then you pair that up against, but we know 100% that if you start with 1 day a week and we slowly progress this, in a year and a half, you'll be at 5 days a week. A ton of people are going to take that first option. I'll risk it.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait a year and a half. It's like, yeah, but we know 100% that you will be there in a year and a half. Still, I want to risk it because maybe I'm the person that can do it.
Yeah.
You're not special. It's like, just take the for sure thing. You know, take the 100% thing.
Yeah.
Because
you can be special in other ways.
Yeah, yeah. Seriously, it's like, be special in other ways. You want this thing that badly, or you want to better your life that badly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you're going to get there by doing it slow and steady.
Yeah.
It's such a risk to go aggressive.
Yeah.
And it does not work for people. It just doesn't. It
Yeah.
ends up being now when we do the experiment, and a year and a half from now, that version of you that took the slow and steady is good and doing it. That version of you that has done the same things you've tried in the past of going aggressive and doing 5 days a week right away is back to square one. You're not going to the gym. You've lost all motivation to even try. And now you have to wait another however long to build up that motivation to go try it again. And it's like, just do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll get to where you want to go. I think there's some of it too that's like, do you really want to go 5 days a week? It's like, or is this just like the different version of you that you see that would be kind of cool?
Or you think you need to do that.
Yeah, or you think you need to do it.
And also, again, if you take it slow and steady and build your relationship, you'll figure out, yeah, I am the person that if I want this, like I do need to go 5 days a week. Or I actually realize that's not what I want, or what I do want, I can achieve in 2. Mm-hmm. So I'll just do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Work smarter, not harder.
Yep. And slow and steady.
Another one?
Huh?
Do we got another one?
Slow and steady.
Smarter, not harder. Slow and steady.
Winner, not dinner.
Be the flame,
That's
not the
one.
spark. I'll be here all day if I just keep doing this. None of them will make sense, but I'll come up with some words.
None of it makes sense. Well, this was fun.
I got to pee so bad. And starving.
All right. We're done. Bye.